Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Matt Weiner subbing for John Saunders. John, get back in this seat as soon as humanly possible. As always, Tim Legler, Greg Anthony, and Stephen A. Smith. 35 players dealt by 15 teams in 11 deals in the 24 hours preceding the trade deadline. We'll try to make sense of as many of the big ones as possible, starting with the biggest of all. Five-time All-Star Chris Webber dealt by Sacramento to Philadelphia, the fourth trade and fourth NBA stop of his career.
Absolutely the biggest and best post player Allen Iverson has had since he has been in Philadelphia. This guy gives them instant credibility. And the best thing about Chris Webber, all the other guys are going to be better now. Kyle Korver, Andre Iguodala, Mark Jackson, everybody, just because of his presence on the basketball floor.
There's no doubt. I'm a big fan of Chris Webber because the guy is just an excellent basketball player with a high IQ. However, as good as this is going to be for the Philadelphia 76ers, is it actually good enough to get them to the elite level in terms of competing for the Eastern Conference crown?
That answer would be no. I don't think they're going to compete for the crown. I think they're going to run into Detroit. They're going to run into Miami. But there is no question that they're a better team because he's on there.
C-Web should be in the lineup tomorrow against his old club, the Sacramento Kings. And let's take a look at how the revamped Sixers lineup looks. It's a pretty good starting five when you look at Iverson, Iguodala, Dallenberg, Korver, and Webber. Perhaps an Eastern Conference contender. We'll see. But here's how C-Web sees the deal.
No, we don't have much to say. I love my time here, and I'm going to miss everybody. And it was a wonderful ride. It was something, if you experience once in life, you're lucky.
Is Chris, you still in shock at all over this 48 hours later?
A little bit.
So, guys, C-Web, does he make the Sixers an Atlantic title contender, an Eastern Conference title contender? How far does he take them?
Well, I think Allen Iverson must feel like a kid at Christmas, and he comes down and finds a 6'10", 260-pound package under the tree and the keys to the Atlantic Division, because I think this is their division clearly now. You have Vince Carter in New Jersey, Antoine Walker going back to Boston. Both of those teams are going to be better, so it's not going to be easy. But I think right now, Chris Webber and Allen Iverson, two superstars on the same team in the Atlantic Division, it's their division.
Well, I don't think there's any question about it. I thought they were going to be winning the Atlantic Division before he got there. I certainly believe that now. But when I think about this team, this deal, I'm saying, why did the Kings make this move? The relationship between Chris Webber and Peja Stojakovic, that was a question mark. The dollars, they're going to save about $15 to $20 million. At the end of the day, here's what it comes down to. The Kings, over the last 2 seasons, they were basically 38-31 with Chris Webber, 51-16 without him. I think that's why Jeff Petrie thinks this was a good deal for Sacramento. I may not agree with it, but that's how he feels.
And you know what? And when you really look at this deal in totality, you first have to understand when you talk about the Sacramento Kings, they do have some talent. Mike Bibby is good as any point guard in the NBA. Peja Stojakovic has obviously been an all-star and a great player. And Brad Miller is more than just serviceable at the center position. He's in the second tier of the elite centers in the league. So I think what you're going to see now is more playmaking from Mike Bibby, still a very good basketball team. And the new guys that they brought in, Brian Skinner, I think Kenny Thomas and Corliss Williamson helped them, particularly Brian Skinner, because he gives them a presence on the defensive end. He gives them some athleticism and a guy who can go out and be a great rebounder.
You and I were talking earlier. You mentioned how this deal possibly lacked toughness for the Sacramento Kings. What about Corliss Williamson? You don't think he brings that?
Well, his nickname was the Big Nasty when he was in college.
That's right.
But this is the NBA. So right now I'm looking more at what Brian Skinner can bring in terms of toughness. Corliss Williamson will help because he can score off that bench and gives them depth. Remember, this is an area where they were lacking. So although you might not love it from Sacramento's standpoint, they're still going to be very competitive.
You're saying he's not nasty or not big?
Neither.
He's really not either one.
Neither,
That's
really.
a compliment.
Now that you think about it.
Steven,
don't act like you compliment.
Very good player.
Don't act like you compliment them now.
Very good player.
Steven alluded to the money out there with C-Web, $62 million. There's obviously some risk for them. $68 million still remaining on Baron Davis' contract, but that didn't stop the Golden State Warriors from picking him up. Guys like Chris Webber don't get traded every day, but consider this. Among active players, only Shaquille O'Neal has put together more 20-point scoring seasons than Webber, and now both have been traded in less than a year's time. Greg and Legs puts C-Web under the spotlight to show us what he'll bring to his fourth NBA stop.
Matt, thanks. And Timmy, you know this. Chris Webber is, without question, one of the great players of the NBA. But I think what he brings that's going to be special for the 76ers is his ability to pass the basketball. As a great player, when you can pass the basketball and make your teammates better, it makes you more effective offensively because guys are more willing to cut because they know you're looking for them. And a team that has motion in their offense, much more difficult to guard. You didn't have a lot of that with this team when it was just Allen Iverson because all eyes were focused on him. He's going to incorporate these guys, make them much more effective, and, oh, by the way, still be able to give you 20 points a night. As you can see alongside Allen Iverson, they potentially could be the most potent duo in the NBA. And, Timmy, in terms of scoring, the area he's going to look to do a lot of that damage, the low post.
Absolutely. You know, Greg, what he provides the Philadelphia 76ers is something that Allen Iverson has not had since he has been there, a low post threat. Even though C-Webb spends most of his time on the perimeter now, he can still go down and do damage on the low block, particularly if you want to play him one-on-one coverage. He has the athleticism and the strength to get to the rim. Even though he's had those knees worked on, he can still do work down there. Also, his ability to read double teams. Greg mentioned his ability to pass out of them. He can also spin away from them and score with his athletic ability on the baseline. Being a guy that was recipient of a lot of those passes in Washington for those threes, believe me, Kyle Korver, more than anybody, is going to love playing with C-Webb. Take a look at their schedule. And Greg, coincidentally, his first game is against his old team, the Sacramento Kings, tomorrow night in Philly. I'm looking forward to that one.
All right, it's going to be a great game and should be a great addition for the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of happiness and hope down in the city of brotherly love.